Hello, everyone. This is Cass from Mad Alchemy Comics, and today I'm here to bring you an episode of Mad Alchemy's What If. This is where we take characters from the Mad Alchemy universe and the stories that I'm writing, and I put them into other characters in other mediums. The reason I do this is to keep characterizations more consistent, so I don't stray too far what they are. That way, how they interact with other characters and mediums it flows more naturally and I can hit that sweet spot. So plus I just like crossovers and always have dreamed to see my characters interact with other characters in other mediums. So until that day, this is just what we got. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, by the way, we have another episode, episode one with Batman that's up right now. That's going to be kind of an overarching story that I'm kind of working on. But until we hit part two of that, this is what we got. So let's get going. So what we generally focus on with these what ifs is several key points. So we focus on the setting, the plot, the interactions, the villain or antagonist that will be driving the story forward, and the relationships of everybody going forward if they were to share a same universe. So let's start off with the setting. Obviously, it'll be in New York. This is where the turtles reside. This is their home. This is where everybody's comfortable, and it's a big city, and a lot of action can occur. Some places would be in the streets, some places would be in the sewers, but generally just know New York is the playing ground. So the plot of the story or the crossover would be that the Westbrook family, being investigators and hearing lots of interesting stories of alchemy, are going down to New York to investigate an interesting influx of chimera activity. People are turning into weird animals, a lot of mischief, a lot of crazy things and crime is starting to happen. They're hearing rumors of a ninja clan running around, and all they know is there are four different entities, or there's these entities that are keeping the streets safe. So they're going down to New York to investigate, see what's happening. As they're in New York, they run across, key people in the streets. A reporter, if you know this reporter that they run into, they hear a lot of stories from her, but they kind of realize that she's being kind of dodgy with them. So they put her on the list of people to investigate. They're not really getting much from the local police department. They still view things as, urban legend and things like that. So that's their focus overall. So now we going into our interactions. As mentioned before, they run into a certain reporter. If you know this reporter, it would be April O'Neil. She seems to always be around when these chimera types commit their crime, and she seems to be in the area where it's always solved. So they're investigating April. They're trying to follow her and things like that. In some cases, they're starting to get the slip in certain areas. Like they start to realize that this reporter is doing things that has worked against what their training is. Like she's been able to clip trained Marine, trained martial artists, trained investigators, even trained Chimera in himself, which is the character Rowan. So they begin to go along, and so they're going to separate because it's Chimera centered. Michael Westbrook, our main protagonist, and one of his brothers, who he uses as like his guards and bodyguards, will go with him because it's Chimera centered. It's going to be his one of his brothers, Rowan, who is a chimera in his own right, and they're going to separate from their other brother and sister, Joseph, who is usually his main guard, and their sister, Lauren, who is also a doctor and kind of a special case in her own right. So as Rowan and Michael try to follow this reporter, Joseph and Lauren run into a pig-like and rhino type character in the streets smuggling a interesting ooze type deal. So investigating them more, they try to look at them and get a feel on what they're doing. They immediately get caught. Battles ensue. They don't get up like Bebop and Rocksteady. That's the rhino and the pig. They're beginning to get the upper hand on them, but they are met with an ally, a masked, muscular type person with a hockey stick and things like that. Now they've gotten the upper hand on them, and Bebop and Rocksteady escape, and they're stand to, thank this masked hero, who is who we now know as Casey Jones. But is he's weird to them because if you know a masked figure in the Thoth universe, masked people generally means alchemists. So it's kind of weird that they're gonna look at him as Casey Jones as this intellectual type. Maybe he's like a super soldier or something like that. But they really don't question it right now. So they investigate the ooze. Switching over to Michael and Rowan tracking down the reporter, they start to understand like she's going into these weird places like sewers and things, and they start to wonder, right, why is this reporter going into these sewers? So they track her into the sewer where they begin to feel like now they're being followed as well. As they try to catch up with April, Rowan begins to get that uneasiness, that animal instinct starts to grow in him until he gets an attack from behind. Blocking the attack, he pushes the person back, and then another attack comes from the front. Michael, being the type that we're not really for combat, he kind of dodges and moves and starts using his speed for more defensive type maneuvers and things like that. So now the battle is ensuing. April now knows she's been followed. April is now like getting out the way, and now they're starting to see these shadowy type figures coming at them from all sides. Rowan immediately comes to the conclusion that there's four of them. So Michael has to get two. He's very annoyed because Michael really isn't a combatant. He kind of just, shakes them off, throws them to the ground, but they're trained themselves, so he has to more go on the offensive to keep them at bay, just to protect his brother because he doesn't want him to get overwhelmed. Rowan is hitting this very aggressive type one who has these two little sides coming at him. So now they come with they're doing combat, they're doing the thing until they hear a voice in the background telling them to stop. Coming from the shadows, they see a character who is a small rat type chimera to their eyes. And the four immediately stop. They jump back and face the other two, where they are seeing now that they are a rat and four turtle like chimera. That's what they are. And they're not mutants to uh, Michael and Rowan. They are chimera. So they are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Chimera right now. So they have their conversation. Rowan is trying to get a feel, see like how they are so animalistic in nature. And they're starting to get that feel off of Rowan as well. Michael, seeing the situation, is now trying to analyze the situation, beginning to, get questions and ask. Well, as they begin to interact with each other and talk, they understand that everything is a misunderstanding and they go on about their day. Not go on about their day, but now they're on one accord and now they're, traversing New York, trying to meet back with their brothers, the brother and sister and everyone else. And not knowing that they're with Casey and they're with this special ooze. So now, they all are talking and getting the understanding, and now they know April is, with the turtles, and, you know, everybody's cool. Meeting back up with the Lauren and Joseph, and now that they see that they're with Casey, they see that they are with the ooze in and of itself. So they see that Bebop and Rocksteady were there. They saw because they mentioned the pig and the rhino, and they analyze the ooze. Michael puts on his mask. He's starting to analyze. Him and Donatello are doing their nerd thing. They're talking and stuff like that while everyone else is looking on and seeing like what's going on with this ooze. Well, the turtles explain what the ooze is and all that, and it kind of like metamorphosizes humans and animals into these monstrous mutant type creatures. This leads them to a character that they generally know who utilizes this ooze. One being Baxter Stockman. So now they try to track down Bebop and Rocksteady and see why they're with Baxter Stockman. And if you know what these characters are, the Shredder cannot be too far behind. So trying to figure out what they need with this big amount of ooze, they're running around the city trying to see where they are. They catch wind of Bebop and Rocksteady, and they immediately give chase. And now they followed them to their hideout where they have seen Baxter Stockman. And Baxter Stockman gives his big plan. And, he's trying to make more mutants to fuel the Foot Clan's army and, you know, cause as much chaos in the streets as possible to keep the turtles busy. Well, turtles have caught wind. They are with the Westbrooks. Battle ensues. They try to stop them, which enters in the shredder. Now, this is where I think we're going to stop right here because now, if you want, because the shredder is a whole new entity in and of itself to this crossover, and that's going to cause way more problems down the line that needs more installations. So I think I'm gonna try to do a part two with this as well. So I'm gonna just go into the relationship going forward. So if we do a part two with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm thinking Rowan and Raphael, they're going to be kind of combatant and aggression. Even though Rowan is considered a peaceful character, for some reason, Raphael brings out that aggression in them. So they're gonna battle. Michael does a lot of research and talks with Donatello. They're nerds and alchemists and alchemists. Um, Leonardo and Joseph interact. Michelangelo's just off doing this thing, while Lauren, she interacts with Splinter, and everybody's just doing their thing. So overall, I was classify the relationship that the Westbrooks will have with the Turtles going forward into the next story is one of familiarity and friendship and camaraderie. They see a lot of themselves in them. They want to have that foothold in New York, and if they can do it with the police while still having that ground in the city, the Turtles are the best bet. So we're going to stop it right here. If you guys like that, if you want to see a part two to this story, as well, if you read our part one for Batman and you want to see a part two for that, let us know. Thank you guys, and you have a nice day.